Are we really going to review a game that happened over 5 days ago? Yep. All right, hello and welcome to the MatchDayVlogs YouTube channel. As always, please remember to smash that subscribe button and hit the like button because it really does make a difference to the channel. Right, we're here approximately 5.5 days after the fact that we got a point away at Newcastle. A well-deserved, at least, we should have got at least a point at that game. We're here to talk about that away fixture at St James's Park. So let's get into it. Jad, I'll be honest with you. I saw extended highlights. That's the best I could do because it was a bit of a mad weekend for me. And you?
So there I was, stood on Southsea Pier, surrounded by Portsmouth fans as Newcastle go 2-1 up in 93 minutes, and I've got no idea what's going on, and the ridicule is going to start coming, and then thank God for the penalty. So no, I didn't actually get to watch the entire game. I've seen not just the extended highlights, but some other bits and bobs as well. So I would say I've probably seen 45 minutes worth of the match.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
but not the entire match. But I think enough to go on.
Absolutely. In terms of what I saw from the game, a dominant first half display. I mean, I can't believe we weren't 3-4-0 up before half time. I got the kind of impression from some of the Newcastle channels that I watched post-match that they felt that their team didn't really turn up until the second half. But that said, we should have been 2-3 up. I mean, that miss from Gineppo.
Yeah, there's a couple from Gineppo where you think, like I said at the beginning of the season, Gineppo's a player that I think, this is his season that he has to come out and really prove himself and show everything he's got. And I think he's so close to being there. It's just that final thing, isn't it? If it's the final pass or the final shot, somehow it always just seems to go awry for him. Like he just can't finish it, even when it's on a plate. Like Livramento put him on an absolute plate and he missed it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you're right. We should have been, 2 goals up, 3 goals up. And as I was watching it, it kind of felt like every game at Newcastle where we should be winning and we're going to be punished for it.
Mm-hmm.
But luckily we win not. So, but yeah, it just seemed like we were all over him that first half.
It was an incredibly dominant display. Remember here, Mark Richards, Musa needs to calm down. Yeah, I mean, he's obviously making a lot of chances as well. I mean, I thought Nusi had a great game. Looked really, really good on that right side of midfield. And then also, I'll get on to, the 3 things that we learned from the game, but I'm going to allude to one here. I mean, Redmond also had a decent game and arguably set up all of the chances. So let's go straight on to my three things we learned. Did you learn more than 3 things just before I go on?
I was interested that you chose 3. I'm more intrigued to find out what your 3 things are. I don't know what I learned from the game because, who knows what I learned from the game until I say it out loud.
I can't remember if I made a note. Oh yeah, I did do one.
Okay.
Okay.
Mike did a little bit of effort work tonight. So
yeah, absolutely. So my point number 1, defensive issues. We're still conceding goals, over the course of 3 games now, in the Premier League, of course, because we've got a clean sheet away at Newport. I'm going to make a note of it. Yeah, it's a clean sheet. So obviously we conceded 3 at Goodison Park. We conceded 1 at St Mary's and conceded 2 more at St James's Park. So that's a combined total of 6 goals in 3 games. And, you start to look at that and think, what is that all about? I mean, I think the 2 goals we conceded at St James's Park were kind of a bit freakish. Is that fair?
I think there's it's the same for the United game. It seemed to be like once the ball really gets in our final third and really start attacking and it starts ping-ponging around the goal, it doesn't seem like there's ever a chance of us clearing it. It seems to be like we lose our heads quite a lot when the ball's in our box, whether that's not I don't know whether it's just the defence not communicating or talking, McCarthy not saying more, or maybe someone from the midfield to drop back and actually let people know what's going on. It seems to be like as soon as it was like when Pogba ran through the box, you were like, well, this is going to go in.
Yeah.
And every time the ball seems to get into our box, I'm like, it's inevitable that's going in. It doesn't matter how many times it doesn't matter how many times it ping pongs away. I feel like it's going to go in any second now. So I don't know if it's just the communication that's off at the back, or it's just their lack of awareness of what's going on. Because it always seems to be there's a free player that should have been tracked.
And I always feel like it's tactical.
Yeah.
Because you can't really question the effort because they're all tracking back. I mean, Prowsey was on the goal line for their second. I mean, unfortunately, didn't make the greatest of clearances. But you got to think
their first goal as well. You got one was it Jack Stevens that was covering Wilson? He was pretty much goal side of him. It's just that Wilson somehow just managed to dive in behind him.
Yeah.
And sort of get it in. It's it's hard to get through, but it's more question how they got there in the first place. So
yeah, and then the goals we conceded were from the two players that I was most worried about. St. Maximan and Callum Wilson. I mean, those are the it was on an opposing fan channel and said exactly that. Those are the two players I'm worried about because of their pace and how quickly they turn the game around. So yeah, no surprise there. Freestyle Football making a comment here about there we go. I don't think Romeo is the Premier League speed anymore. I mean, he was subbed again today, so not today, on Saturday. Hot off the press, 5 days after. That is the international break. No one cares about the international stuff. That's why we're here. So that's another factor, but bit of a strange one, really. I mean, it's sort of ties on to our show that we're doing after this about the fact that perhaps we could have done with another someone in that position. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it does feel like sooner or later someone is going to be maybe playing out of position to fill that role, or Diallo's going to be starting a bit more. I think Diallo, probably, he can start a bit more. I would say, like obviously the past few games, I'd rather Romeo come on at the end of the game and shore things up for the last 20-30 minutes and see where we are with Diallo for the rest of the game.
Yeah,
just so we can save Romeo a little bit. I know we can't play him every game. And, keep in mind he was out for a massive injury last season. He had a bit of head trauma in pre-season.
Yeah.
So he's a battle-worn man, and he is not saying he's old, but he's aging on a little bit, so he needs that little bit of backup and recovery. So I wouldn't mind seeing Diallo starting a little bit. Ooh, but it definitely seems to be that we might be regretting not getting that extra midfielder.
That Weston McKennie transfer.
It was on everyone's fingertips, but not to be.
Comment here from Mark Richards. Also, in fairness, McCarthy had a good game. He did make a decent save. Certainly on those highlights. So yeah. And another defender of ours, Livramento for Ballon d'Or. He had an amazing game. I didn't realise how young he was. He's 18. I knew he was young, but I didn't realise he was still in school.
What's great as well is the fact that Kyle Walker-Peters is working on the left as well, meaning that we can play the both of them.
Yeah.
Because in those two positions were not positions, when you look at the highlights or read anything or see anything, that was a concern at all. It is the centre of the park. It is, but yeah, Livramento is just looking to be sort of the sign of the season so far, isn't he? I think on most people's lips, even friends that never mention Southampton to me have been like, "Cool, that Livramento's all right," and it's like, yeah, he is. Yeah, he is, and he also makes me quite safe in feeling about the rest of the younger transfers. Like, I'm excited to see the rest of them sort of play some more games and come through, because I feel like a lot of people might be judging our transfer window quite harshly, not knowing that maybe that it's our recruitment and our youth team scouts that seem to know what they're doing, know what they're talking about, and see what they're doing.
Yeah, I do think we get judged harshly, but that's a different show. We've got that coming up.
Yeah, we got that coming up.
I got this graphic as well. I just forgot to put that up there. Sorry. What finish? So
yeah, how are you feeling about Elianusi? Because I remember at the beginning of the season, even end of last season, you were still like, I'm not sure. I
know. I was impressed. I mean, I think my worry was from that Newport game that he got a hat trick. You can't deny the fact that he's got a bit of talent there. That Ralph was going to change a lot more in the squad. So I was quite pleased when I saw just a minor adjustment. I don't think anyone would question the fact that you'd switch out Walcott for any other one of our right-sided midfielders. So I wasn't worried about who that was, and even Elianusi can make a difference there. But he looks quicker, he looks sharper. That's
what I mean. I think that is something that we lack a lot. Is just that our opposing winger compared to like Gineppo, just they're not attacking enough. They don't seem to be that spring in the step. Whereas he's really got up from what I've seen so far. He looks like he's really really ready for it. He's really up for a game, ready to prove himself. I think, yeah, especially now he's got the goal in the league. I think he must be absolutely flying. So I'm keen for him to get more and more game time. And isn't he left-footed? Is he not naturally a left-sided midfielder?
I thought I'm not sure about that. I'm gonna let us know in the chat section or whilst Jack's googling.
Do a quick phone research.
I'm gonna. Oh, another point here from Mark. By the way, any members in the section there on the YouTube members section, there is a link to join us here if you wanted to jump on the show and give us your thoughts and opinions. That is open. No obligation, of course, but it's there. I've put it there. Anyway, so moving on to my second point. Second thing that I learned. Redmond is back.
He is indeed.
And he was involved in both our goals. That cross for Elianusi's, whatever it was, whether it was a header or it just sort of hit his body and he sort of moved into the goal. But Redmond assisted both of the goals. The second one was a penalty, but without that pass to Adam Armstrong, there's no way that we're getting that penalty. So that was encouraging to see. So already we can see that we've got multiple options.
He is indeed left-footed, by the way. So
Elianusi's left-footed. There we go. Left-footed.
So if that's what I think on the right side to sort of like pair it with it, so you're not overcrowding Gineppo's side. But if you started the game with Elianusi on one side of the wing, you had Redmond on the other.
Yeah,
I think that's a quite an attacking midfield right there. I think something a bit more exciting, something that where Redmond's not that relied on all the time.
Yeah, and I think where we're seeing a bit more. I mean, lots of other teams fear Gineppo. The trickiness of Gineppo, but ultimately he's a fantastic player to watch, but he's also an incredibly frustrating player to watch. So when you see him go past a player and then suddenly he's rolling out for a goal kick, that happened a lot. So
yeah.
But it's just encouraging to see us have options in multiple positions. I mean, the only option, the only area where we don't have options is that number 6 role where it's effectively just Romeo, which is.
But I could see when Armstrong comes back, him playing there more.
Or him playing alongside Ward-Prowse.
Ward-Prowse in the middle, like we were at the end of last season, because that worked and it was good, and he could play very defensive, and Ward-Prowse can drop back. So I think that combination works. Yeah. And now that the wings are so loaded with players, you look at this team and you're not like crying out for Armstrong, like right now. But if he could play, the squad's always better with Armstrong in it. So if you means starting him in that middle of the park, number 8, number 6 role, I think that might be a really good just extra option for us.
Yeah, or maybe each of them, Armstrong and Ward-Prowse. I mean, Ward-Prowse can play right back quite sufficiently. So
that's what I mean. Maybe
number 6 after all.
Maybe that's the role for Ward-Prowse, because I think like maybe something that is missing a little bit is that like we say, it's that middle of the park. It's getting the ball rolling out. If you can have Ward-Prowse being that slightly more defensive player that can get the ball, knock it, and start the play going with their first pass, and then you have Armstrong, who is a much more attacking player than Ward-Prowse, to then move the midfield along. It could work for us slightly better. Just a more attacking midfield rather with Romeo in it and Ward-Prowse. It's starting to look a bit too deep.
Yeah, absolutely. So moving on to my third and final point. VAR works.
Yeah,
it does. And watching Steve Bruce at the end of that game speaking to the press and saying, "We've got to look at this VAR. It's clearly not working." It's like, how can he not see that was a penalty?
Yeah, we are now in the position, if VAR starts working like it is, like we've seen so far this season, it's all been pretty good VAR, really, and the way the refs have been letting the games run has been pretty good so far. I think we're now going to start seeing managers get angry when it's not going their way.
Yeah,
and I think You know, Ollie's one of them. Klopp's one of them.
I know, right?
Now Steve Bruce is one of them. These teams that were all, you know, last season were it was working for them.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's VAR's working a lot better this season.
That is a crazy thing. I mean, I think that Ollie was saying that the Jack Stevens challenge was a foul, and yet the Pogba the challenge on, was it Neves? I can't remember.
Yeah,
Another Wolves player, where effectively it was stuck up and he caught the top of his boot, went straight through him, and Mike Dean saw it's a 50-50. I'm not so sure about that, to be honest with you, but to perceive that as like that's fine, and the Jack Stevens one is like it's clear and obvious foul. It's like, nah, I'm not having that. But it's amazing how the media is so quiet and so quick to move on when it's pouring a bad light on one of the bigger clubs. So hey,
yeah, but that's just it, isn't it? That's the more
why we're here.
That's why we're here.
Yeah, that's why we're here doing this. But no, it's been a fascinating start to the campaign. I mean, but those are my 3 points. Anything else you wanted to add, Jack?
I mean, we should probably talk about the goals a little bit.
It's true. It's true. Yeah.
The first one I think is just a great example of how the fullbacks and the wingers have been working.
Mm-hmm.
Because it seems to be you switch sides. These combinations just seem to be working a lot.
Yeah.
Down those wings, they seem to be just looking so good. So that first goal was great with Ellie Newson able to putting it in. It's just it's not often you see Saints goals like that, do you? When it just comes across the box and someone puts a foot in anymore. It's just like that. It's starting to become a bit of a rarity. Mm-hmm. Strike it forwards, love crosses. So just let's see more crosses.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. And the goals we conceded were very similar.
Yeah.
I mean, they were hardly like Premier League quality goals. It was almost like smash and grab sort of stuff, which Steve Bruce, really, isn't it?
It is. And on the other end, the other goal, Adam Armstrong. That's now 3, goal assists in 3 games. You know, he got his goal in the first game and assist in this game, and he won the penalty for the second one. So,
yeah,
he's doing stuff.
Yeah, I'm
getting more and more confident by the week.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But I think that the Premier League table is showing a rather interesting picture at the moment. Where, I mean, to have Spurs at the top. I mean, the mad thing about that, you've got Spurs who scored 3 goals in 3 games, and they're top league.
Yep.
Absolutely madness.
We'll see how long that lasts.
Yeah, well, everyone's talking about, and the crazy stuff that's going on at Arsenal. I mean, oh my goodness.
That one is fun to watch. So that implosion is fun to watch because thank God for content creators because they really make it extra funny.
Yeah, I mean, as it stands, Arsenal up next. They've got Norwich at home. So you've got to think like
that's a draw at best.
But can you imagine that atmosphere? I mean, that's a battle at the bottom between 20th and 19th.
Well, here's the thing, like
someone's always got to go.
Like after the City game, during the City game, sorry, it was like as soon as Xhaka went off, I was like, right, now this is how many is it going to be? Because City will think maybe it might even come down to goal difference this year, so let's pummel them in. So after that game, you're like, listen, it was 5. It's 5 against City, 10 men. Okay, it's a harsh first 3 games for Arsenal.
Yeah,
but they lose to Norwich. Then we can all start going, Arteta can't be there much longer.
No, absolutely not. I mean, I think that's we'll get more onto our second show, but it's a crazy amount of money being spent on Arsenal.
Oh yeah,
I just don't get it. I don't get any of it, and it's like, how can you have a manager in a position where you're not even sure whether he's the right man for the job, and then spend that much money on I don't know what, literally, just unknowns. I mean, there's a few in there that obviously talented players and ones to watch for the future, but oh my goodness, just like throwing money at a problem. It's like, I don't know what you're doing. It's crazy,
mate. You're wasting this all for the next show. We won't even have to talk about Arsenal next game.
Yeah, the next show will be dominant on Arsenal spending. So there we go. That is pretty much our summary of the Newcastle game. It's not somewhere where we often, get a result, but I just feel on this one that we should. I mean, we deserved at least a point. They were there for the taking in the first half, and it was just a crying shame. If we go out like that against most clubs in this league, we'll get something. And I think it's just the fact that Steve Bruce decided to put 8 defenders in the penalty box that we struggled to get a goal. But that was down to our own wrongdoing more than.
I would say so far, not 3 games into the league, I would say we've probably had 45 minutes of football where I'm like, this is terrible. And it's the second half of the Everton game. You look at the rest of it, like United game, completely respectable, both halves really.
Yeah.
Dropped off a little bit in the second, but then we picked it up again. There was, it was fine. And then, this game, there was nothing really, I think, that we did too wrong. No. It's just that we needed to put goals away and we didn't. And then we just conceded to, like we always do. So it's not been terrible yet. And it gives me good hope because I feel like we can only get stronger with the current team. I feel like the current team can only get better because there's enough rotation in it to not be able to decline rapidly.
I know, right? And we've got second options and sometimes third options in certain.
That's the thing. I sent you that picture the other day of the entire squad and the depth and all of it.
Yeah.
And keep in mind that didn't even represent players that can play in multiple positions. So like the only place that didn't have those second options was number 6 of Oriel. But we do know that we've got players that, like I said, Armstrong can play there, Diallo can play there, Stevens can go forwards, Prowse can play there. So there's a lot. There's a lot of depth in the squad this season. It's just so good to see it. And I think we are now starting to see our best starting 11 take form.
Yeah.
I think the quicker we get to that, the quicker that we can really kick on for the rest of the season.
Yeah. Yeah, no, agreed. Absolutely agreed. Comment here from Mark. I'm happier with this team than the team we had last season, even without Ings. I think that's a good point. I mean, I think there's lots of scenarios where we found ourselves where Ings was injured and we're just thinking, well, what now? And yet we have a situation here where Gineppo could have scored, Elyounoussi scoring goals. I mean, there's options there.
That's the thing. The only way to make up for Danny's goals this season is for goals to come all over the park. And if we can, if you see Elyounoussi start scoring, if you see Gineppo start scoring, even you start to see Teller playing more. Hopefully Redmond. I mean, there should be goals all over the pitch for us. So it's just we just need to see them starting.
Just need to make them happen.
Exactly.
Make them happen. So there we go. That's pretty much our summary of the Newcastle game. Just a mere 5 days after the fact. But we certainly wanted to jump on here because we appreciate, if we did a show straight away, there'd be lots of questions about that. But it's just good to run through this sort of stuff. Even in chats, Mike, you seem to have audio issues. Am I still sounding buzzy?
Not as bad as it was before, but it might be something there.
Is it? Is that better?
No, I can hear it there.
Really? It's poppy. I'll have to try and fix that. I do apologise for that. I've got some kind of bug in this system. I don't know what it is, but I will try and fix it for the next show. So there we go. Thanks to everyone who's joined us here in the chat session. It's been fun. And we'll catch you very, very shortly in our other show. So, as always, remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe. We'll see you in our next one. All right, see ya.